This stretch could be the deciding factor to figure out if Philadelphia 76ers are a team that could be in the play-in or playoffs or a team that should tank. We're going to tell you all on the other side.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On 76ers. We're your host, Keith Pompey, of course, a Sixers beat writer for the Philadelphia Inquirer. I'm Kayla Santiago, sideline reporter for the Delaware Bluecoats, the 76ers NBA G League affiliate. And we're talking all things 76ers right here on Locked On 76ers. And today's episode is sponsored by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. And of course, if you want more of Locked On 76ers, we not only are available on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, but in addition as well, we now have a free daily newsletter at lockedondaily.com. So make sure you go check that out today. So we're going to touch, of course, on this matchup that's coming up for the Philadelphia 76ers against the Thunder and the magnitude of this stretch. Because do I think the 76ers are in tanking mode right now and just going to decide to lose some games and all that stuff? No, I do not. But if they lose these next two games and some games further, do you look at shutting some players down? Does that conversation start brewing? We're going to get to that later in the show. First and foremost, Keith, this is a rough matchup we're looking at right now for the Philadelphia 76ers, especially on paper and what they've been dealing with. No Joel Embiid again, no Andre Drummond, no Kyle Lowry, no KJ Martin. Caleb Martin is questionable. I mean, they are severely underhanded right now. And the 76ers going up against one of the best teams, if not the best team in the Western Conference. I mean, the 76ers are going to really have to lock in their P's and Q's. Do you see them having any particular advantage going into this matchup? Anything that you feel they could come out on top? All right, so we're already down. I agree with you. I just wanted to see if there was any positivity.
Stop. No.
There's no positivity.
No, yeah, they got one advantage. The only advantage they got is that they slept in their own beds last night.
There you go.
That's the only advantage. No, they don't. You know, right now, this is a tough matchup. I think the biggest problem that's hurting the 76ers, the one advantage that they would have would be if Joel Embiid played. Because, you know, you look at Joel Embiid right now, the 76ers are 7-6. When Joel Embiid plays, they are 8-16 in the games that he hasn't played. He gives them probably their only advantage. Now, I know Isaiah Hartenstein is a walking double-double. He's averaging 11.9 points, 12 rebounds. I believe he had 13 double-doubles this season for the Oklahoma City Thunder. But outside of that, you look at it, there's no other advantage. Maybe you can say Paul George, maybe, right? But when we look at this team, this is a really good team. I mean, you have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at SGA, they call him. You know, he's second in the league in scoring at 31.4 points. Second in the league. He's had was a ridiculous number of, 20-something games of at least 30 points or something like that, or 20-something points. Right now, he's on pace to be a player who averages 30 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 steals a season. The only other player who has done that has been Michael Jordan, and he did that twice. Now, in addition to being this scoring guy, with his 2 steals, he's ranked 3rd in the league. Then you have 2 other players, one of them being Jalen Williams, who are top 7 guys in the league. So when I was like, stop, I was playing with you, but at the same time, they have no advantage whatsoever. And we're talking about Lou Dort. We're talking about Isaiah Joe. Now, the one thing that the Sixers could benefit from is if they come in a little bit overconfident and look and see how bad the Sixers played. But this team is 32 and 6 or something like that. Yeah, the 76ers have none whatsoever.
32-6. The closest team behind them right now is the Rockets, 6.5 games back of that record in the Western Conference as well. Keith, I agree with you. I just wanted to see if we could stir any controversy early on here, but we can't. I don't think anybody's going to disagree with us, right? When you look at this Thunder team, I mean, they're really fun to watch. I enjoy watching this Thunder team on any given night. Right now, Shai is at the top of the Kia MVP ladder, and he is absolutely balling out. And it's interesting watching his numbers too, because Jokic is not going to go down quietly, but Shai keeps putting up these numbers consistently, time after time. You alluded to it, just averaging under 32 points a game, 5.5 rebounds, 5.9 assists as well. 52% in terms of his field goal percentage. I mean, he is on fire, but this team is just so, so good. The Philadelphia 76ers have zero advantage. I expect them to fall horrendously in this game. A miracle might have to happen if they somehow come out with a win. And Keith, you talk about them going in there with confidence. I don't know if I have the confidence that they're going to have the confidence in this matchup because of the body language after the last game. Tyrese Maxey, you alluded to it. You said maybe he was feeling okay, a little sniffly. We don't really know from that standpoint, but the body language of Paul George, of course, being frustrated, he fouled out at the same time. How could you not be frustrated when the season is starting to turn out like this? But this Thunder team, they have an advantage on every cylinder. Now, I will say the only thing that you look at is the size in the lineup. Okay, you look at Hartenstein, that's going to have his due strictly because the 76ers have nobody in the middle that can cover him, but they are a smaller lineup overall, which kind of equates to the Philadelphia 76ers. The difference is they're better athletes and they're better players at this point right now in their season. So the 76ers zero advantage in this game. And it's just been tough for this team right now. And this is why the importance was, and I keep striking back to it, to win those games confidently against the Wizards, which they did. But, it wasn't very confidently. They fall to the Pelicans. Now you face the Thunder, and then you have the Knicks on a back-to-back. It's going to be a tough night out there for Philadelphia right now. This Thunder team is the best in the league, in my opinion, at this given moment. They've defeated their opponents very handily and showed that they're not only a great team because they can win games, but they can really beat down the bad teams too. So I look at this Thunder game, and maybe Joel isn't playing because the back-to-back is coming against the Knicks, but it seems like the 76ers are almost okay dropping this one, and maybe they get back into shape against the Knicks, but these two games are going to be looking at very closely too going forward after this set if Joel can come back against the Knicks.
Yeah, you talk about them being small. They are a little small, but at the same time, I feel like they have some length on the wings, right?
Yeah.
We look at Jalen Williams. He's a 6'6" wing. They have like Kaysen Wallace, who's a 6'4" guard. We look at Shai. Shai is a point guard, but he's 6'6", right? So then the one guy who you might say that is small is Lou Dort. Lou Dort is listed as 6'4", 220, but he's kind of like, he has that football player build. He's extremely strong. So he's an undersized power forward, but at the same time, they have him listed as, a guard forward. But then you have the other Jalen Williams, who is a forward / center, but he comes off the bench and he's 6'10". So, you know what I mean? But to me, it's kind of like when we talk about an era of positionless basketball, I feel as though that this team mastered it, right? They really mastered it. And they play hard. I mean, they're young, they're tough. I mean, they play hard. They're completely different from the Cleveland Cavaliers, who has like a twin tower. But with these guys, is they have a lot of guys who can play various positions, like a lot of wings who get after you. So that's the thing that separates them from other teams.
And that's trouble for the Philadelphia 76ers, who are still trying to figure out who's going to be their point guard, that nobody can really move the ball around. So it's two very different teams on two very different scales of their season. And when you look at the Thunder schedule right now, they did drop that game against the Cavs, but they absolutely killed the Wizards 136-95, as they should. I mean, looking at those two teams in the records, that's what they're supposed to do, right? When you look at that, also dismantling the Knicks 126-101. Defeating the Celtics as well, 105-92. I mean, this team is rolling on all cylinders right now, and they're just going to completely overpower the Philadelphia 76ers in this game. That's what we're predicting. That's what it's going to look like. Even if they had Joel Embiid, I still think the 76ers fall in this game. OKC just has way too much on their team right now, a lot of talent, and they're able to move all around the floor and have a lot of success doing that. So we're going to keep breaking down this matchup just a little bit and really talk about the injuries, because we touched on, if they had Joel Embiid, if they didn't, it's not just him. Of course, he's the centerpiece, but it's also who else is injured. Andre Drummond's going to be out. Kyle Lowry, KJ Martin, and Kayla Martin right now is questionable. How does that continue to affect this team? Well, it does mightily, and we'll touch on it on the other side. After the holiday hustle, there's nothing like giving your home a little TLC. I especially love that after the holidays, when having people over and everything like that, being able to have some time to really just kind of redecorate, reposition things in my house. Whether you're tidying up, clearing out, or just want to give your space a new look to start the year, Wayfair has everything you need, all within your budget. I'm currently looking for furniture, and their huge selection makes it easy to find pieces that fit my style and budget. Needed a little bit of an end table for a new couch that I also got from Wayfair, and it's been a fantastic deal that I've been able to have an opportunity to do so, and it's been on a fantastic price because I'm not splurging out on that stuff, but Wayfair has the best deals possible. There's something for every single home as well, no matter your space or budget. Wayfair makes it easy to tackle your New Year's home goals with endless inspiration for space. Make sure you give your home the refresh it needs with Wayfair. Head to wayfair.com right now. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. So make sure you go check it out today. So what is going on with the Philadelphia 76ers and all these conversations, and what's going on with the medical staff and everything in between? Now, I don't necessarily think it's just the Philadelphia 76ers, and I've had a lot of conversations about that. And Keith, you and I have talked about it too. Just it seems the NBA, there's some teams that have gone shorthanded night in and night out. We saw the Pelicans a few nights ago with the Philadelphia 76ers. The Nets, another team that's just been injured a little bit. There's a lot of other teams that, aren't at 100%. The Orlando Magic, even the other night against the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, the Sixers are missing their best player in Joel Embiid, but Andre Drummond also not being there, you don't have a lot of rim protection. You kind of rely on Gershon Yabusele and Adem Bona, which probably isn't the best suited when you have this stretch for the Philadelphia 76ers. Kyle Lowry is out as well, and KJ Martin continues to be out too. I mean, this is a tough blow for this team right now that can't seem to get anything going right. Injuries continue to happen for the Philadelphia 76ers, and I think it's important, Keith, that we highlight Joel Embiid because clearly he is a big centerpiece for this team, but also nobody's really been healthy consistently, and that has also put an effect on how this team has been able to perform, which has turned them into a pretty bad team as of late and right now.
Yeah, the thing is, when you do lose, you lose Joel, he's the most important piece. But the fact that you picked up Drummond for a reason, and you
Right.
wanted him to be able to come here to play minutes just in case Joel was unable to go, and you knew there was going to be load management games, so that's when Drummond was going to step in. The thing that really hurts them in my eyes, and it's kind of like low key that a lot of people aren't talking about, is the loss of KJ Martin. And I get it. He doesn't score a lot of points. He doesn't do anything, but he was a solid starter for them in that position. Like just running the rim, getting a couple lobs a game from Tyrese, playing quality defense. And that enabled you to bring Yabusele off the bench and do certain things. They were able to bring Caleb Martin off the bench, right? Now Yabu is the starting center, and Caleb, they're hoping and praying he's going to be the starting power forward. So all these injuries are contributing to depth. Also, when you look at Kyle Lowry, I know he's been struggling shooting the ball, but right now you look at it and you have to play Jeff Doughton, and Jeff Doughton is a good player, but it just seems like he's having a hard time adjusting to the NBA game, because he's dynamite in the G League, but which is a completely different level. But that's what all these injuries are really hindering the 76ers because they can't be able to, they don't have any depth. And when we
Mm-mm.
see that, you're always going to see the bench getting destroyed in bench points, right? Because you got bench players starting right now as opposed to coming off the bench.
And with all due respect to Jeff Doughton and Justin Edwards, those are guys that are on two-way contracts. Ricky Council was a guy that was in the G last year, right? If you're expecting to rely on those guys to lift up your bench points and have the same bench points as your opposing team has, that's going to be tough on any given night. I mean, the other night, what was it, 13 bench points against the Orlando Magic? That's not going to win you many games. And you look at it right now, too. I mean, I understand, and I circle back to Joel Embiid here because I understand Nick Nurse has a plan. That's what we keep hearing. That's what they keep telling us. Of course, they're going to say that. They don't want to get fined. They don't want to get in trouble, right? They're going to say and stick up for their players. They're not going to tell us really what's going on behind the scenes if it's a negative point of view. But when you look at it right now, my question remains Joel Embiid, okay, he's sidelined, he's hurt. He might not be playing in the Thunder game because it's a back to back. That might be understandable. But when you look at all of the other injuries on this team right now, when you looked at Andre Drummond can't play, and now you're saying, okay, well, Joel, we're still going to see him back. Wouldn't you want to try to push him a little further to come in? Or because all these injuries happening, you're just saying, okay, well, we don't want to put Joel Embiid out there because we don't want to get him injured and we don't want to cause further injury because seems to be what's happening in the league right now. And anytime he steps out on the floor, you kind of close your eyes because right now injuries keep happening. And we alluded to it the other day. Maybe the 76ers are cursed, but you think that they would maybe try to push it a little more just to try to win some games because it's not a situation where he can sit out and they're winning games. They're losing pretty terribly, and it's only going to get worse with this schedule up ahead.
Well, it's two things. First of all, it's like, today is January the 14th. Joel last played on January the 4th.
Mm-hmm.
So he should be fine. And when
Right.
you walk around and you see him, they're saying he has a sprained foot. I don't see a walking boot. I don't see anything. I just don't. Like, what I mean? It looks like everything is okay. The problem is, as much as everybody wants to make it seem like the team is in control of this, we talk about this over and over again. It's Joel. I mean, Joel is the one who makes the decisions, but I feel like he wants it out there that the team is making the decisions so people don't like get mad at him or call him soft or be critical of him and stuff like that, right? So those are two things right then and there. Like, yeah, he probably could play. He could do this, he could do that, but you know, does he want to come back right now? How does he feel about his foot, his eye, his
All of it.
knee? Is a
Mm-hmm.
lot of it, right?
Yeah.
So when you have all that stuff going on, that's what the coach is faced with. And but he's not going to come out there and say that because he's going to try to take all the bullets he can for his player. But yeah, but you look at it, he's been out over a week, over a week. Like, yeah, you would think that, bruh, you should be able to play in the back to backs probably or something like that after that. And especially the team needs you. And the funny thing is, it's kind of like initially when he missed the Wizards game, when he missed the Phoenix game, everyone was like, oh yeah, Phoenix is struggling. Don't worry about it. You don't have to play. They're still going to win. Loss. Oh, when
Mm-hmm.
he missed the Washington game. And then let's face it, Washington didn't play anybody or they only played one key player,
Yep.
right? Almost lost that one. Then they lose the next two games to teams who were doing the same thing and which were supposed to be extremely winnable games for the Sixers. So you are correct. It's like, sometimes you got to say, yo, we got to suck this thing up and we got to get out here and do something because if I don't play, this thing could turn left quick, fast, in a hurry.
Yeah, and they're getting paid a whole lot of money to, not work and not do their job too. It can be, I'm sure, frustrating to a lot of people. The team. I want to put this in perspective too before we get to our next break. Embiid injured his foot Christmas Day game, finished the game, played another 4 contests after that, right? then started missing games and now has been out for 10 days. So it hasn't been managed well either way, whether it's up to him, whether it's up to the team, whatever that might be. But at the end of the day, he's injured. And so it seems like everybody else, it's just trickling down the line at this point, and it's not helping this team no matter what. So there's going to be the conversation now of the magnitude of this stretch with or without Joel Embiid, and what that conversation is going to be if the 76ers fall badly throughout this stretch. And we're also talking the next two games and looking ahead, not too far, but just a little bit after that as well. So we are going to touch on that on the other side and see how it affects the Philadelphia 76ers. And of course, we do have to tell you about Game Time. I love going to games in person, especially when it's the playoffs and you have the atmosphere and everything in between. And if you want to get an NFL playoff game, but you're like, I don't want to spend my whole paycheck on a ticket, well, Game Time has the best deals you could possibly want. They have the top percent value, the greatest value, where you can get your seats for the best deal. It's personally what I use anytime I go to a game, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, hockey, anything in between, especially when I'm out of the area and I might not know the local websites. Okay, I'm going to Game Time. I'm going to go check it out. So make sure you go do that today. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, make an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDONNBA. Once again, LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It is Game Time. And when it comes to grocery shopping and meal planning, I've had this ongoing problem. I just don't have the time. And I know everybody gets so busy in their day-to-day life, and it can become tough. And I always try to on Sunday say, all right, I'm going to meal plan so I have meals for the week. And Sunday may be for a few hours the only time I have to actually just lay there, relax. And that's the last thing I want to do between work, life, and trying to eat healthier. I was constantly feeling stressed out about it. I go to the grocery store, buy things that I necessarily didn't need, and then end up with no time to actually cook them. And sticking to my health goals, that was a struggle as well, especially something I'm looking to do in 2025. But everything changed when I discovered Hungry Root. Honestly, it's been a game changer. It's the easiest way to eat healthy without all the stress. With Hungry Root, it's like having a personal shopper and a nutritionist all in one. They take care of my grocery shopping, recommending meals and grocery based on my taste and health goals, from anti-inflammatory to high protein and gluten-free options. And the best part about it as well, every meal is ready in 15 minutes or less, which is perfect for those people that need to run in and out the door. I'm talking quick, healthy meals that actually taste great, all delivered straight to my door. It's been a huge time saver, and it has made healthy eating so much simpler. You're going to love Hungry Root as much as I do. For a limited time, get 40% off your first box and a free item in every box for life. Just go to hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA and use code LockedOnNBA in all caps. That's hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA. Once again, your code LockedOnNBA in all caps to get 40% off your first box and a free item of your choice for life. hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA. One more time, code LockedOnNBA in all caps. Make sure you do not miss out. So it's a rough stretch, and we've been consistently badgering this time after time. But, you know, my thought process
We've been
here,
keeping
Keith,
it real. That's what
we are
we're
keeping,
doing.
I mean, I
Yeah,
don't, if anybody can sit there and say the 76ers have a chance and, oh, well, you know, they've just been without their best player, I don't want to hear it anymore. Look at these teams. Look at how these teams are doing. I don't even care if some of these teams have lost for the last two games. We're talking about a 15-22 team, people, all right, in the Eastern Conference right now. So I look at this, and I brought this up in the beginning of the show. My takeaway is that if this stretch goes ugly, what do you do going forward? Do you tank and shut it down, or do you keep trying for that play-in? I'm going to let you go first, Keith, because there's more to this than just that. But let's see your overall takeaway, how you feel about the magnitude of this stretch going forward.
See, the problem is right now that teams behind them are so bad.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like there's Washington, although they almost lost to them. But, you know, the teams behind the 76ers in the standings are so bad to the point where they could lose these games and still be in sixth place. I mean, excuse me, in 11th place. Now, granted, you know, it could probably be a gap or even if they're not in 11th, they could be in 12th. But you are right, though. I mean, you have to do some serious evaluation, like, and because over the next 15 games, which is going to run right through the All Star break, not the All Star break, the trade deadline. It's going to be one of those things they're going to have to think quick, fast, and hurry. And
Yeah.
of those next 15 games, the only games that people may say that they may have a chance, there are three of them on paper, unless somebody takes them lightly, and that's at the Pacers, but I don't think that's going to happen. It's at Chicago and at Detroit. And when we look at it, you know, Chicago, they're the only team that they play during this stretch of 15 games that doesn't have that has a losing record, right?
Right.
So with that being said, yeah, if they don't get this together, I think they got to really evaluate a lot of things moving forward. I mean, because you know, right now they're trying to hold a piece. They got an open roster available spot. They KJ Martin, he's injured now, which really hurts. But they signed him for the gist, and the goal was to trade him. He had a tradable contract. So it's a lot of stuff that they may have to, they're gonna have to decide on by the time they get the 10 games in here.
I think what I look at, and those are all fantastic points too, is it even worth it to go out there and trade people off of your team or try to bring somebody in the buyout market if this team really is going to go nowhere? And I say this because you look at the Eastern Conference right now, and you kind of took my point there too, Keith. I said the only saving grace for this team is that the bottom of the Eastern Conference there is not that great, and you only need to be 10th to qualify for a play-in spot. So if that's where they want to be, I don't think they're going to have that much trouble. But with that being said, above them at 10th is the Chicago Bulls. You look at the Bulls' schedule right now, and the 76ers have a much tougher schedule, especially in the next few games. The Bulls play the Pelicans, then they take on the Hawks, which that'll probably be a tough matchup for them as well. Then they take on the Hornets and the Trailblazers. Then they have a tougher schedule, the Clippers, the Warriors, and then they take on the 76ers. So that's the team above them right now. The team behind them right now that's really banged up is the Brooklyn Nets, and they have a tough schedule. We talked about this a day ago as well. They take on the Trailblazers, yes, but then it's the Clippers, the Lakers, the Thunder. So maybe you have the saving grace of the team behind you not catching up with you. But at the same time, when you look at the Bulls and teams above them, if they continue to stay above them, then that's going to be a situation where you look at it and say, okay, maybe it is time to actually reevaluate, and maybe we should shut the player that's the player they build around, their star player that they have a plan for, that has had 3 injuries that have had him sit out this season. Maybe they should shut him down depending on what happens throughout the stretch. And honestly, I do not think it is too early to make that decision, because you look at it right now, this team has a really tough stretch ahead of them. And I just don't think that it is worth it. If you're so worried about him getting re-injured, or he's so worried about getting re-injured, why are you going to force it if you're just going to continue to lose games, right? Because at the end of the day, if you get into play-in, what's going to happen? First round exit. Come on now. Let's be real, people. That's the reality of the situation. So I'm not saying that yet, but Keith, talk to me 3 games from now. We might be having a conversation of who's going to capture the flag.
Yeah, and not only that, I mean, we're thinking about, last summer when he should have, talking about Embiid, he should have just shut it down right then and there and rested. So right now, the guy can't play 5 games in a row without needing a break. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, he can't play 5 games in a row without needing a break. So all of a sudden, you look at this team, and not to piggyback off you said, but yeah, you look at this team, and then you say to yourself, the longer he plays, well, is that going to impact next season as well?
Right.
Especially when you know this team isn't going anywhere. So I'm with you. I'm in total agreement. If they don't play well in a couple games, you got to shut them down. And I posed that question, maybe 3 weeks ago in a
Yeah.
column, and people
Mm-hmm.
were destroying me. What are you talking about? Now the same people are sending me emails like, bruh, what's up with Embiid? We're upset. We're upset. hey, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you.
That's why Keith is great at his job, people. He can see it, he can predict it, he knows this. He's a realist, he knows what's going on. He's there for the facts, the analysis. So make sure you check out all his columns too in the Philadelphia Inquirer, because fantastic knowledge there and everything in between. And hey, we were talking about it earlier too. You might be right in that situation. We're going to wait and see. That's been a big story of the season, waiting and seeing. The Thunder, that's a game that they take a loss for. And then the conversation becomes, does Joel Embiid come back after that? And I think that's what we look for. The magnitude of the stretch is a really big one in these next few games for the Philadelphia 76ers. So they do take on the Thunder tonight, and we'll see if there's any type of magic there. The Thunder, they continue to be the best team in the Western Conference. That is at 7 p.m. Well, thank you all so much for tuning in to Locked On 76ers. For Keith Pompey, I'm Kayla Santiago saying so long, and we'll see you guys next time.